Welcome to another edition of Fall Rise Give. You know what? It's been such a long time, Kumar, that we've done this that I used to have it all memorized. What I said? Fall Rise Give, an opportunity for you to live your best life and be your true self. I don't remember the whole thing anymore. It doesn't roll off my tongue like it used to. I still try to live by the mantra of Fall Rise Give, but I just don't have the verbiage anymore.
The
How you
verbiage
doing?
doesn't matter. It's the principle. It's how you live. It's, by being true to yourself, you get to live a more resilient, peaceful, and soulful life.
Exactly. So, what's been new? I mean, we haven't talked in about a month. What's new with you?
I have been working on my book quite a bit in the last month. I have put it together. It's about 240 some pages, and I have been editing it over the weekends and the in the evening sometimes, but mostly over the weekends. And I'm still talking to a couple literary agents, and hopefully I'll get it published through a traditional publisher. If not, I will be working on it through self-publishing it through Amazon. So that's where I've been working at. I've been enjoying the Pacific Northwest summers as well on the weekends. Still finding time to play a little bit of golf. I was able to do that on Saturday. Thanks for being flexible that we can record today instead of Saturday. And so, yeah, it's all well.
That's cool. So, I know that when we started doing the podcast was when you stopped drinking. How's the drinking thing going?
Yeah, haven't drank for about a year and 8 months. That's kind of been my sobriety in that sense. But I did drink 2 nights while I was in Ireland. So I haven't drank in the U.S. for the year and 8 months. But yeah, when I
Hey,
was in
and
Ireland,
Ireland is tough, man. I was in Ireland 3 years ago this week, so I was
yeah,
there 3 years ago, and
yeah.
there's a lot of partying and there's a lot of going on there in Ireland.
There's a lot of pubs. I think it's such an ingrained part of their culture, and it's powerful that it is. They build community around it. And
Right.
really, what I was doing there on purpose was on purpose, strategically drinking with some business partners, business friends, trying to build a relationship, just hanging out with them. If I didn't drink, I don't think I would have felt as close with them as possible. So, social drinking is a big part of our society, and that's really what I did that night, those 2 nights while I was there in Ireland.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about our subject today. We're going to talk about being humble and being hungry, and that's an odd an idea that you had sent to me a couple of days ago. And I threw it into my Chat GTP just to kind of see just to see what it would show me for like throwing together an outline for the podcast. And basically, it didn't really know it didn't really know what to say.
That's awesome.
Usually,
You broke
usually it has
ChatGPT. I
something.
love it.
Usually it says, all right, hungry. Oh, you got the hunger for something, or you need to eat food or something. But it didn't really have any real ideas on podcastability for this one.
Yeah, I'll tell you kind of how I got the phrase, and I a little story around it, um, and then we'll talk about kind of what the principles of both of those words are and combining them together. Um, so my daughter was playing tennis for a number of years, and she ended up in the best academy in the Pacific Northwest. That includes Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Alaska, and Washington. And there was an academy there that was funded by the United States Tennis Association. They had 7 regional training centers in the country that they had funded, and they had given hundreds of thousands of dollars for this academy to provide training. And now it wasn't free all the way, but they did have a lot of free camps and things like that. But it was an academy that was called Northwest High Performance. And the gentleman there was a coach of the year for juniors, and a guy from New Zealand originally who came to the U.S., coached at a bunch of clubs, and ended up founding this academy and won Coach of the Year prior to that. So what you're basically getting at that academy is somewhat really wealthy kids, and wealthy kids are the ones that can afford the tennis lessons usually. There was a couple of inner city kids in there as well, but you get cream of the crop, the best tennis players. There's about 15 to 20 of them in there. And what these guys were coaching them to be is humble and hungry. What they were
Hmm.
basically saying is be humble by being open to learning and getting better. And by through humility, you learn, you put your ego aside and you try to do the best that you can. You end up having a growth mindset when you do that. So by being humble, you're open to learning, and that's what they were focused on, trying to teach these kids to be really humble. Even though how good they were, these kids would go out and win all the tournaments around the Northwest,
Hmm.
and even California and across the country. They had kids who were top 10 in the U.S. In the academy, and so that was their motto: humble and hungry. The hungry part was really having the desire to get better, a goal driven, being very driven, being very focused, being very strategic about um, wanting more and more of success. And so that hunger is what drives through our passion, the ability to work super hard. These kids would get together at 6 in the morning every day, from 6 to usually 7:30 to 8:30, depending on the kids' school schedule, and then they would get back again at the academy at 4 o'clock to 6:30, six
So it's like
forty-five.
it was basically like a full time job then.
Yeah, and they had school in the middle. These kids were training super hard. They were all super fit. They were so fit, in fact, my daughter ran a 5K without any training. She was just training in the academy for tennis. She ended up winning all the women's classification. She was
Wow.
13 at the time. She won the whole women's division, and she came in like fifth or sixth in a 5K. So these kids are super well trained, super fit. But the coaches tried to impress on them the key to success, which was be humble so you can be open to learning, put your ego aside, and try to get better every single day. And then they wanted to enforce drive in them, drive to work hard, drive to show up every day, drive with the right intention, the ability to work very hard. And that is what being hungry is all about. Being hungry to be able to want more, not just to put food on your table, but to be the best that you can be.
Hmm. And do you think that a lot of people are actually doing that, or trying to be the best that they can be, or trying to, you know, work hard to be the best person that they can be, or do you think a lot of people are like lazy and just good enough?
Do you ever get up at 5:30 or 6 in the morning and head into a big town? Do you ever go to lacrosse at 6:30 or 7 in the morning?
Well, I used to work mornings in radio, so I used to get up at 4 every day. So I mean, I've been not for a while. Let's just say that. Like this
Yeah,
morning, I slept in until 8:30.
yeah. But do you remember the traffic in the mornings? Between
Yeah,
6 and 7, there's a ton of people on the road,
right,
but it's not packed.
correct.
The traffic doesn't start till 7:30, 8 o'clock. That still means a lot for people driving to work. They had to get up, get their coffee, get their whatever. But I remember being in Chicago, being in Minneapolis, being in downtown Seattle. You have people that are out there at 6 in the morning and the roads are full. These people are driven. These people are working hard. They're heading to their job. So I do believe there's a lot of people that are very driven. Now, I don't go to the office as much anymore, but when I do go, I see the traffic, people lined up. And then what I do see every morning, I go to a small gym. It's got 2 floors, nothing major, just a local gym in the neighborhood. And at 6 o'clock, it gets packed. It was basically full at 6 in the morning today when I was there. So there's enough people even in my neighborhood that are going to the gym and working hard that are driven. Now, you're not driven to go be a fitness trainer in there. Usually fitness trainers are in there trying to train people who are working hard. So people are working on themselves every single day. Now, you may not see that in majority of the population, but there's enough of them. I would say 30 to 40% of the people out there are working very, very hard. They're very driven to be the best that they can be, or at least to be the best that they can be for the time being, right? Meaning
Hmm.
that they're not trying to go out there and climb Mount Rainier or anything like that, but they are out there making sure that they can do the best at their job, feed their family, save money for retirement, be successful in their business, whatever that is in their career. So there are a lot of people out there that are working very hard. There are some people who are lazy, but those are people that haven't found their true desire yet. They haven't figured out the why they need to work hard, or why they need to figure it out, why they need to live in society in the way that they want to be able to contribute. They just haven't figured out the why. And without the why, the how of working hard is very hard to do.
Yeah, I agree. I had a question that was in my head that I was going to ask you, that I was going to throw out there, and then I just lost it. You ever have that happen? It's funny because I'll be 57 in a month, right?
Yeah.
And I had a doctor's appointment month and a half ago. We'll just say in the last month or so. And I mentioned that to my doctor. I said, I had just had my yearly physical, and I said, doctor, I'm getting more forgetful, and it's more short-term stuff that, I'm in the middle of a conversation. I think of something that I want to say to somebody, and in the middle of it, I lose my train of thought. And he goes, "You're 56." That's gonna happen. So I mean, maybe for me that could be my humble piece. That I'm humbled by the fact that I can't remember, but I'm hungry to continue that conversation. So there's my humble and hungry story for the moment.
Nice cover. Yeah. It's totally understandable, right? We are getting old, memory goes, but the way to fix that is to have enough blood flow through your brain so that you're not as forgetful. And what have you and I talked about in the past?
Oh, working out, man.
Working out, going for a walk, right? Moving your body. Doing even the coffee helps. There's no doubt about it. Coffee makes you more alert, but then you got to be able to move a little bit. As soon as you move, yeah.
I was going to say, I worked out this morning before our podcast, and then we had some work done at our house, so I was out there watching them do that before I hopped up here and, have my last cup of coffee as you and I are talking. So I'm trying to do all the right things. As I mentioned earlier, I cut down on the drinking. I've been trying to live a better, more healthy life. I don't know if that's working or not, but
it's working.
It's all just the steps of trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, no, I think I saw a picture. You're looking pretty good. I think you probably lost some weight as well. I saw it on the Facebook post or something. So, I think we should be focused more on the habits rather than the results. But the results are nice to be able to see as well. But focus more on the habits of doing the right thing, the thing that you want to do. That's what Be Hungry is all about. Like for me, and you go through phases. There was a couple of months in the last 3 to 4 months that I wasn't writing as much. I wasn't focused on the book piece as much. I was too caught up with some other activities or other challenges that I was dealing with. And so for me, it's okay to take some time off. It's okay to not work out as much. I didn't work out yesterday because I worked out really hard on Saturday. I had some things to take care of yesterday morning, and so I was focused on that, and I'm glad I kind of got rested. But today I knew I had to get in the gym. Of course, I treated myself to ice cream the night before as well, so I knew I had to get to
the gym. Well, you do have to treat yourself to those things every once in a while,
Yeah.
So all right, you brought up ice cream. What's your favorite kind of ice cream?
So my favorite ice cream shop is Salt and Straw, and they have cinnamon snickerdoodle, snickerdoodle ice cream, and they have rum pecan flavored ice cream as well. They've got these exotic flavors. They have pear and blue cheese mix. Yeah, and that's a really good combination.
That would be really good.
Yeah,
it would be odd because the two flavors of those are really good, but with ice cream added to it, that would be really unique.
Yeah, it was really good stuff. Really good stuff.
I really like an espresso Oreo is one of my favorite, is one of my go-tos. But honestly, I like a good old Neapolitan, and then you just add stuff to it. So you grab some cookies and crunch them up and throw them in there, and some cherries and some fresh fruit and stuff, and you
Yeah,
try to make it you try to make it healthy by putting fruit into ice cream.
it works. It works. It satisfies the crave. But you mentioned Oreo and espresso. So
Yeah.
when I go to the store, I always try to get Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream.
Mm,
The
right.
Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream is the best version of a latte. The Trader Joe's one is too espresso-y. It's too dark coffee, too much. But the Haagen-Dazs coffee is the best coffee ice cream. And then there is a ice cream brand at the store around here, and I know a friend of mine in Iowa has it. Maybe you've heard of it as well, called Tillamook.
I'll have to look
Tillamook,
for it. I've never heard of it.
yeah, Tillamook is a town in on the Oregon coast, Central Oregon, and they have ice cream and a dairy and cheese farms that they work with, kind of like Land O'Lakes, but it's
Uh-huh.
much smaller, much more regional. But I know my friend in Iowa gets Tillamook ice cream, and there I buy the cookies and cream.
Okay.
So so cookies and cream and espresso or latte coffee flavor are my two favorites as well. But that's when I buy them at the store. Whereas if I'm going to go to the salt and straw, I'm going to get the exotic flavors because that to me is the treat.
It's just the way to go, man.
Yeah,
You ever had
yeah,
Blue Moon? You ever had Blue Moon ice cream?
yeah, yeah. They sell them at the store, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a place up in La Crosse called Ranison Ice Cream, and they have Blue Moon, and it reminds me of a Fruit Loop. So it's like eating Fruit Loop cereal, but it's just blue and it leaves your tongue blue. And my kids used to always eat it, and then they'd always end up with a blue nose afterwards, from eating the ice cream cone. And
Oh wow.
if it didn't wipe off right away, they'd have the little blue dot for like a day because the
Oh wow.
dyes
That's
in
too
it
much food coloring in
would
there.
make. Yeah, there's some serious food coloring in that.
Yeah.
So I'm back to what we're talking about with the humility and the hunger. I think we just talked about the hunger just with the ice cream. Now I'm hungry for ice cream.
Yeah.
But but talking about your daughter and doing the as an athlete, that's actually one of the things that it says here is that relationship between humility and hunger. Talks about the fact that with professional athletes that they're dealing with that on a fairly regular basis, like you said with your daughter doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. See, it's if you want to be the best at something, you have to be driven. You have to be hungry. You have to want to be the best. Even if you don't want to be the best, like we talked about at the gym, people at the gym working out, right? They want to be good at what they do. They want to be better than average. So they show up at the gym before work. They know they're fired up when they get out of there. They know they feel good. They're healthy. Their brain's functioning at a particular level, at a higher level than if they just had coffee. And so hungry is good, being driven, but unless you're humble, you're not going to be open to ideas of improvement.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to have that growth mindset because growth mindset is all about learning from failure, learning from humility, you know, is usually gotten through experience of failure, of not being good enough or not being great. So that's where the humility comes in. Humility is really important in life. It doesn't mean that you think less of yourself. It means that you think of yourself less, meaning that being humble, you are out there trying to be open minded to what others have to teach you, others getting your ego out of the way. It doesn't mean that you think less of yourself by being humble. It just means that you listen to other people, other situations for ideas, for lessons, for ways to get better at whatever you want to do. And so that's really what it is. It's a phrase that the kids had on the back of their shirts, and it stuck with me for a long time. But that's really the lesson in it all: is being humble is a great way to have the growth mindset, and then being hungry is the way to be driven and to be the best that you can be.
Mm-hmm.
Combining the two together, you got to
Right.
learn from other people. You got to learn from books, Chat GPT, whatever.
Well,
But
a lot of it is being open though too to that to being open to allow that to happen because I think a lot of times when you get people especially like our age that have had some success And a lot of times people that are our age that have had some success don't want to hear, I don't want to hear what you have to say. I've got the world by the, by the cojones. I'm ready to go. But I mean, I think that in order to gain that next level of success, that you need to step back, take a look in, see what's around, assess your, your surroundings, and maybe hear what somebody else has to say in order to help you to gain that next rung of the ladder in order to get up to the next level of height.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be success as a whole either, right? We can be very successful in life, but like for me in the last 3 months, going through some emotional challenges, going through some personal difficulties, um, you can be humble and learn from other people, right? You can be more resilient. You can be more peaceful by being open minded, trusting a higher power or God or whatever universe that you call it. That's one way to be able to be more humble and to open to ideas and what the lessons are teaching you. And so, hungry is just wanting more of the good stuff. But the way to get it, being open minded, like you said, only when you're humble is when you're open minded. You can't be open minded unless you're humble.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So I want to bring up one last thing before we go. You'd mentioned growth mindset many times throughout our podcast, and I know that you have a Facebook group that's kind of built on growth mindset. And I see a lot of posts from that on a daily basis. They're very spiritual and very upbringing and very, they actually are thought provoking posts a lot of times on your Facebook group. You want to share what that is again?
Yeah, it's called Spiritual Mindset. It's got about 1.6 million followers. About 350 to 70,000 people are active on a monthly basis. And it's a great community of people posting uplifting messages. Everything from manifestation to spirituality to gratefulness to meditation. Sometimes prayers tend to be less religious. It tends to be more on the spiritual side of things. But there's lots of true religion stuff, that is Buddhism quotes and Christian quotes and Aurelius quotes and Carl Jung quotes. And so we try to pass on messages that are uplift people and try to be a place or a source for them to be able to check in daily and to get uplifting messages so they can make their day better. It's as simple as that. And so it's a platform for anybody to join the group and start posting. But, we do have to monitor it and we do have to track it. So it has to be high quality. We should not be out there just promoting yourself, but really try to put an uplifting message out there. And that's really the key to it all.
And what's it called again?
Spiritual Mindset.
I'm going to throw a link of it on the description of this podcast, just so that way people can click on it and hopefully we'll gain a few more followers on it that way.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, we usually get about 1,000 to 2,000 new users a month, which is pretty good. Yeah, it's the group's starting to get more engaging since we took it over a few months ago. It's gone up about I would say about 25-30% in engagement, which is really what we wanted to do, was to get more engagement with people. So really try to my wife and I co-manage it together. Gabe, as you know, also helps manage it once in a while, but we manage it. We track. We monitor the posts. We monitor who gets in, and the quality is really important to us to make sure that people aren't just self-promoting. There's a lot of junk out there on the internet, and we try to stop the junk. There's too many people we have 10,000 posts that we can't put out there. We literally get 1,000 posts a week to a month that we can't put out there because there's just junk. Sometimes the good stuff gets caught in there, but Facebook as a whole is getting better and better and being automated, so it catches stuff that's goofy. And so we try to keep it very clean, very family oriented, wholesome. We try to keep it positive. That if it's not positive, we'll take it off the board.
That's a good thing to know. Hey, Kumar, it's good to talk to you. Good to see you. You actually, you mentioned that you've been going through some stuff, and I know what you've been going through. Listeners don't, but you're looking happy, and that's what I like to see. And you look at peace more so than the last time I saw you. So that's great.
That's awesome, Bob. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate your friendship. Let's keep doing this more and more. So if you want me to come back on your podcast or us doing this together at least once a month, we'll keep doing it.
Very good. Oh, I'm going to mention my podcast too, BS with Bob. Take a listen to that one. Kumar and I did an episode, and you can listen to that on bswithbob.com. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Fall Rise Give, where we explore stories of resilience, growth, and giving back. If you enjoyed today's episode, please visit our website at www.fallrisegive.com. Also, consider subscribing to our podcast on your favorite platform and leaving us a review. Your feedback helps us to continue to bring you inspiring stories. Stay tuned for our next episode, and remember, every fall is a chance to rise, and every rise is an opportunity to give. Until next time, keep falling, rising, and giving. This is Fall Rise Give, produced by podcastforhire.com. Thank you for listening.